Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo, and welcome to the channel. Yes, the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Another weekly recap. We're already at the end of April, folks, and as you know, my golf is around the corner. We received some notices from the golf club saying that they will be opening soon, all depending on how the weather reacts and behaves. So I think by mid-May, I should be executing my second passion, which is get out on the golf course, meet the buddies, and get some exercise in. As I mentioned, I gained some weight, so we need to lose quite a bit there to be a little bit healthier. Anyway, a little bit healthier. But talking about health, this therapy helps, and I got another great recap for you guys. I've got some inks to propose. We've got some paper as well, and we have an interesting array in the pen hall, both fountain and non-fountain pen that arrived in channel. One in particular, many would consider a grail pen, and which a lot of you would be surprised that I don't have or did not have in my collection, and I managed to get it. It's a little bit older, some would say vintage, perhaps a vintage edition, but stay tuned for that. I'm really glad I got it. I got it at a great price in an auction, and I want to present it to you just a little bit later on. We've got some great pens to revisit as well, and of course I've got my plan for my weapons for the next week. So without any further ado, Fountain Pen Therapy presents the weekly recap for April the 26th, 2026. Okay, so we're back for the first segment, which is market news. What do we got for you? Well, let's. One thing I wanted to mention. Remember, I've been shopping now quite a bit on Taobao, which is an alternative to AliExpress and Temu. And let me go to my overhead camera, and I want to point out something that I discovered where I was not prudent, and I wanted to give you a heads up. So we'll go to my computer, and there we are. Now, one of the things about Taobao, what I realize is that they're kind of a consolidation warehouse, sort of an operation where vendors, you buy the pen, the vendors ship the product to them, and then they ship it to you. And if there's several orders, you can also consolidate your shipments, which is great because you can save on the shipment fees. And this is my purchase page, if you will. So I purchased a sample of Crenna paper because I understand there's various versions of the Crenna paper right here. I've also purchased this pen right here, okay? So I hope to get that soon. Also, various other Crenna products because I'm really starting to like that Crenna notebook and different size notebooks, so we'll stay tuned for that. Now, I did mention last week that I managed to order this pen, which was Leonardo Momento Zero 2.0, And when you look at the price, it's 200 yen, which is about $50 Canadian. So I said, this could be a scam, I don't know. I was completely mistaken. You got to be careful and read the fine print. What in fact, what is being sold for, if you will, for 40 bucks is just a nib, from what I understand. So if you actually click on the pen, no, it's not just a clip. No, sorry. What happens here is that the $200 here, the Chinese currency, which is about 50 bucks from what I gather, you're paying for a deposit on the pen. At the bottom here, you have official standard configuration or deposit. If it's deposit, it's 200. If you click on official standard configuration, let me just click on that, you're going to get quite a different price, which is the total price of the pen, if you will. So when I realized the error, I right away sought a refund, and they gave me a refund. So the refund mechanism worked very, very well. So don't have any illusions. Do not order this pen thinking that you're going to get this $700-800 pen from Leonardo for 50 bucks. It's not going to happen. You're just paying for a deposit. So buyer beware there. And now, what else have I got for you? On AliExpress, there's this, I think I mentioned this pocket pen in different Baloi, Yowo, brass. So it's probably got a Yowo nib, and it's got a flex nib as a choice as well. So that's, again, another Baloi product with that flex nib. I don't know if I mentioned that one already. There's this Wing Sung 930 number 9 with this Makie, Irushi Makie mother of pearl for $278. Let me tell you, this could be worthwhile. Maybe by the time you take a look at this, it may not even be any longer available, may no longer be available. So heads up for that one. What else have I got? That's it for AliExpress. There's not much there. Oh no, there's one more, which is this one. There's I saw the Asvine C80, probably available on Amazon as well, in this kind of ivory finish. I hadn't seen it before. Perhaps it's been out and it's just me who's kind of lagging behind, but it's an ivory resin. For those of you interested in ivory, there you go. Now, if we move out of AliExpress, Pen Chalet, I find, has the nicest stuff these days. I checked Goulet, there's not much there. Gold Spots, same stuff. So Pen Chalet has a couple. I really like these new Benu Tribute fountain pens. They're a little less crazy, and they come in different colors, but nice resins, so that may be something to look at. But here again, look at that. It's $260 US, so they're not being given away. There's this beautiful Delta DV, Dolce Vita original mid-size with the primary manipulation for $299. Now, if you're going to get, I would definitely pick this pen up over the Benu. That's my point of view. Again, Pen Chalet, you have this other Delta, which is the DV original mid-size for $299, but in this Starry Night limited edition. So those are interesting as well. At Stilo and Stile, I like this pen, this Leonardo Poliedrica fountain pen. I like that resin. You can get it in steel for $256, and I definitely get this over the Benu. What else have I got? That's this we've gone over. So that's really, that's really it for market news. There's not much out there, folks, especially on the Chinese pen market. It's pretty dead. Something's going to have to come up. You're already, April, end of April, already in month of May. We've seen, a couple of pens? And some of these newcomers that we're not sure about yet. Some fancier resins and fancier gold nibs are there as well. But the price is always a consideration, But look, that's why I'm moving to other sites like Neokyo, which is kind of on the Japanese side. I'm doing Invaluable, which is the Invaluable auctions, where you will see I picked up a Grail pen, in my view, for a very reasonable price. I'm looking at other auctions, and I'm looking at Taobao and Temu these days, because I can't really find anything that's, inspiring, put it this way. But we've got our collection to deal with, so it gives us time to look into what we have and enjoy what we have. That's Market News. Stay tuned for my next segment. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're back, and as we always start after our market news, take a look at new paper that has come into the Fountain Pen Studios, and we'll do some swatching. That paper, we'll review it briefly, do some swatching, and maybe do some writing on that notebook or paper that's come in, just to give you another alternative to your notebooks. And most importantly for me anyway, is that I'm still going ahead with that challenge to find the ultimate alternative to Tomoe River. And we're getting closer, folks. I promise you, we're getting closer. I think we've got maybe a couple of more to go that I want to test. And then we're going to do one comprehensive video where we'll make some final decisions. We'll discard right away the obvious. There's some middle ground ones that I've still not decided on. And then, we'll pick my favorites, go through them in a little more detailed fashion, and present to you a video. That will, at the same time, enable me to present a comprehensive, kind of a comprehensive video on notebooks per se. And at the same time, we will meet the challenge. And, that's an ever-ending search, as you know, because products come out. This year I've learned all kinds of things about paper and ultimate alternatives to Tomoe River. And I suspect that I'm going to be learning in the future as well. So what do I have for you this week? Well, it's a notebook series that I did present to you already. Let me just go to my overhead camera to show you what I mean. A couple of recaps ago, I had mentioned to you that one of the viewers was very kind to forward to me and gift me for my birthday in advance. My birthday is only in July, but the viewer insisted that he or she send me a gift. And it says on the card, please open me on July the 22nd. I'm going to open the card only on July the 22nd, which is my birthday. But I couldn't resist about the notebooks. And here are the notebooks. I got to tell you, let me just close up a little bit more. Excellent quality. These notebooks, we're talking, really high end here. Take a look at the cover with this leather covering. It comes in these. The viewer sent me a set of two, one blue and one green. Take a look at that. Look at the way it's embossed. DeKempen, very, very nice. I got to tell you, I like these squared off, ends so that they don't bend, if you will. Take a look at the cover here. Very well done. Nice paper. It is thick. It's not thin. It is thick, and I believe it's. I'm not sure they mention it somewhere. Does it give me the? I'll put it up on the screen if I'm able to get the information. Oh, here it is, 90 GSM. So it is much thicker paper. We're not talking 52 GSM paper. It does appear to be coated and probably, no doubt, fountain pen friendly. At least I'm hoping. It's very nicely done. It does have also a string here, kind of a divider, page divider, both in green and in blue. You've got the name here, DeKempen. So very, very nice product. I've got to say, we're going to be talking about this product a little more as we go along. And as we're going to do some swatching. I'm going to pick the green one. We'll do some swatching. Now, right off the bat, I can tell you that it does not have the quality. I see. One of them is blank here, and one of them is lined. Is this blank? No, both are lined, which is good. I prefer the lined. But this is a nice, it's nice to have blank paper if you just want to do some sketching when you're on the road, that sort of thing. I even like the way the sides are colored to match the cover. It does not have, I was saying, it does not have the thin quality of Tomoe River, okay, which is nice for me, but I still think that this is kind of a high-end office type of notebook. Walk in around a conference room with a notebook like this, taking notes is really classy. So if you're looking for probably a classier sort of a look, this is it. It's high-end for sure, and I like the way the pages are numbered, but there's no date on them. I like the way it sits very nicely. So very nice product. Now we'll see how it swatches and how it writes in a few seconds. That's the notebook. Be right back with the inks. Okay, I'm back with the inks, and here they are. I thought we would go with a Montblanc theme for my inks, and you'll see why in a minute. And I've got three inks to propose, some of which already form part of my collection, and one of which is brand new this year. I've been meaning to take out this Montblanc. It's a red horse, the Legend of Zodiac's The Horse Red special edition for this year's Chinese Zodiac. Okay, I was reserving this along with the Colorverse series, the Red Horse series, I was expecting the Chinese to come up with a kind of theme pen for the year. I'm sure it'll come eventually, but we're now in the month of April, heading into the month of May, and I'm fed up of waiting, and I'm really curious to see how this ink looks like, what it looks like. And we're always looking for nice red inks. I'm hoping that satisfies my taste. And because of one of the pen hauls I received, as you'll see in a minute, I figured this is a good time to take it out and let's swatch it. Along with, I love this Homer green blue, Greek blue, beautiful color blue from Montblanc. And of course, I realized I never really kind of did a swatching with one of my favorite, if not the favorite, green ink that I have in my collection, which is the Montblanc Irish Green, a classic. Everybody should own one if you like green. So there we have it. Those will be the three inks that we will be swatching for this episode. We will have Tomoe River paper along with that DeKempen notebook, and we will swatch those. What I'll do is I'll set up with my water and my tools, and I'm looking forward again to using that beautiful Eureka dip pen that I was gifted. I'm very, very lucky to have it. It is just a fabulous dip pen, and I would say fabulous writing instrument. It works perfectly so far, so I'm anxious to use it once again. Give me a few seconds, we'll set up the tools, and we'll be right back. We're all set. Tool, for those of you who have never seen this before, this is my folded pen, which I use to swatch. And this is the brand new instrument that I've received from a viewer, which is the Eureka Titanium Dip Nib, which is absolutely fabulous. In this very sleek peak dip pen holder, if you will. Some people said it's a little thin. Yes, it's thin, but it's quite, most of the dip pen holders I find are thin, on the thinnish side in any event. It works really nice. I guess the only drawback to this this nib is that it fits. It's particularly made for this pen holder. It doesn't have a slotted end that you can fit in any dip pen holder. I guess it's made specifically for this one. But that's fine. The combination I find is great. I also figured out that this is very washable. It doesn't stain very easily, so that's not a problem. Some of you might question, well, what happens if I put some ink on that very light, kind of beigeish holder? Will it stain? It does not appear to stain easily, and it's resistant, so very easily washable. Great little addition to the studios, I must say, as you shall see in a few minutes. Okay, so we're all ready to start. I'm going to start with Homer Blue. Let's get the blue out of the way so that we can get to the red and then the green. Here we go. These are not shimmering inks, so I can tell that this paper is very coated. Look at that, it needs 2 dips. Interesting. And we'll swatch the Tomoe River paper. It means it penetrates quite quickly. Whereas, well, we know that on Tomoe River, it always takes a little bit of time to dry and to kind of get absorbed. So let's dip this. So this is the MONTBLANC Homer Greek Blue on the side. Homer. I always, I do these videos very early on, and you know me, I'm transparent with you guys. You all know that I have a little bit of a hand tremor, and in the morning I notice I have greater difficulty. I guess the body needs to wake up a little bit, so you will excuse my tremor there. It's nothing serious. I know a lot of you were concerned. It's not any disease. It's a hand tremor that I've had for decades now, and I have to live with. And I got to tell you that fountain pens kind of helped it along. But in the morning, like now, it's like, 4:30 in the morning, the hens are still asleep, so to speak. So you will forgive me for that. But no worries, no worries. Okay, the red. Yeah, you could tell that it takes a... Wow, this is going to be a fun red, folks. This is going to be a fun red. Let me tell you, because it's got a little bit of oxblood darkness to it, without major black, but it's a very deep, solid, intense red. Very, very nice. I'm glad, because those Colorverse Red Horse limited edition inks really disappointed me. I don't think I'll ever use them, frankly. At least that's my recollection, but you never know. I might revisit them later in the future, but they were disappointing when I swatched them. So this is MONTBLANC. Let me just push that. I'm just going to call it Red Horse Red. MONTBLANC. Wow, this nib is just beautiful. Really nice. I mean, it's so smooth. You're like writing with a broad nib. That's what it is on, like a normal or a more standard fountain pen. Really, really nice. Okay, so that's red. Yeah, you could tell they're very little, the performance of the inks are pretty standard, kind of flat, and it absorbs quite quickly. Okay, Irish green, my favorite green. Let me just put some ink in that. There we go. That blue really absorbed much quicker, which tells me that it's probably a drier ink. The red was kind of in between, and now the green it's absorbing, but it's taking a little bit of time. So the green, you can tell, is one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite. It's a very wet ink. Very nice. I got to get another bottle. I just noticed that before they decide to discontinue it. I doubt it because it's probably one of the best sellers, but Montblanc Irish Green. This kind of fits. I don't want to stereotype here, but you know, the Irish, you know, Irish, you associate green, Chinese, you associate red, and Greek, you associate blue. So they're kind of in the right place, so to speak. Irish green. There you have it. We've got to take some time for the Tomo River to dry up. I noticed that the DeKempen notebook is already ready to go. I just spilled there. I thought I would avoid it, but I haven't. Having said all of that, let's give it a few minutes to dry up, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back with the inks. So there you have it. The Montblanc Homer Greek Blue, I think it's a quick drying ink because even on the Tomo River, not that much sheening, but there is some shading and some red sheen there that we can see on the Tomo River paper, but there's none on the DeKempen. Okay, pretty standard here. The red, again, there's some shading, a little bit of sheening on the Tomo River. Very little, if not almost virtually none. But I like the intensity of the red on the DeKempen. Same thing with the green. You can see it's kind of flat but intense, whereas on the Tomo River you can see the shading and you can see this darker reddish sheen there as well. In terms of how it penetrates, well, we know that Tomo River is a thin paper. You can expect some ghosting, and certainly on the swatching there's some penetration there, as you could see, but that's okay. Like somebody told me, you know, these notebooks are not made to do these big swatches, you know, and I agree. It's just a question of having fun with the inks, really, and to see how it does perform. Now on this 90 GSM, a little bleed through there on that red, a little bit on the green, very little on the blue, as you can see, because it's kind of a dry ink. A little bit of ghosting there, not much, a little bit. I would say equivalent to the Tomo River, but the real test is how does this paper react or perform when one writes in a normal fashion with a normal nib, and we'll take that. We'll do that next once we've done the pen haul. We'll be back with the next segment, which is this one here. That is the Zento Signature, the first one that kind of came out. It's in this silverish color. They've then came out with a black one, and then after that a champagne. So those were kind of three, from what I understand, part of their three standard. And then this appears to be a limited edition. We'll take a look at it in a second. Again, I purchased this on that Neokyo site. A Japanese, it's kind of a site that is kind of a search engine that allows you to search several of Japanese retail or online vendors, and you look it up, and you don't pay $120 for this. I think this thing's going for hundreds of dollars on eBay, or certainly more than $100 when it should be going for like 30, 40. And I paid a really reasonable price, got it fairly quickly as well. I got to tell you, I had to click 3 different vendors, however. The first 2, my order went through only to be told that they had been sold out. And then the third one worked. And I got it fairly nicely packaged, very well, very good experience. So there you have it. Now, how do I open this? Let me just see here. I don't want to totally destroy the... I think I have no choice. Okay, I'm back. I wanted to save the box, but I had to destroy it in order to get it out. So here it is. It's a little gem, folks. got to tell you, that's the box. I can't save this thing. We're going to throw that out. But here it is, folks. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, I always said if they could make a fountain pen that looks like this, wow. It's got that nice clip. That's kind of, they call it stone, so it has kind of a stone look and feel. Probably metal, I would say to you, but looks like stone. And then you got this mustard-looking acrylic or plastic. It's got, like the other one, it's got a nice, pleasurable, magnetic closure. It posts the same way. Really fits in the hand really nicely. It's got nice shape here. This acrylic or this plastic is sticky, so it doesn't slip on you. Really, really nice. I mean, there's the black one and there's the champagne one. I think I'm going to get them all. Be very, very frank with you. I'm not sure if this is 0.7 or 0.5. We shall see later. If not, I've got cartridges or refills that you can switch up very easily. They're very, I wouldn't say affordable, but you can find them everywhere, especially on Amazon, different colors. And now this one has, this is a 0.5. So, you know what, I think it's 0.5 anyway. And we shall see when we do the writing sample. So that's a very nice addition to my collection. Now, what else do I have for you? Here it is, Blackwing Pen. I'm very, very curious to see what this Blackwing pen is all about. If you look at the back here, in terms of, it's a roller ball. It's machined aluminum body. It's got a Schmidt rollerball cartridge or refill, which is good news because they're readily available once again, and they're probably the best rollerball refills, at least in my opinion. It's got a nice box. Let's see what happens when we open this up. Oh, I see. Okay, here's the pen. Put that box aside. Wow, that really looks sharp. Here it is, Blackwing Pen. I think it's their first. It's a satisfying sound. Pops out. I don't know how this works. Probably this way. And how do we get the refill out? I'm not sure. I'm going to have to figure that out on my own. I didn't see any instructions, but we'll figure that off camera. There it is. It's got a really nice look, I got to tell you. It's got this flat side that can stay and it won't roll off your desk. It's got no clip. I don't know how the feeling will be. I mean, do you put your flat side with your thumb? Do you put it with your main finger? Or do you grab hold of the rounded parts? We shall see how that translates in the writing experience or the writing sample in a few minutes. But regardless, I think it's a nice touch. So why don't we start putting these on my pen haul tray. And then last but not least, I am so glad I got the next pen that I'm going to show you. Believe it or not, I did not have this pen as part of my collection. And that's a MONTBLANC 146. I purchased this through the Invaluable auction site. I paid it $150. Excellent price. It is, in my view, a vintage, and I had to try to figure out what year this 146 came out. And the way you do it is that, first of all, around the ring here, you will usually have the inscription of either West Germany or Germany. This one has Germany. The second hint is that's the nib. The nib, if it's a one-toned nib, so as you can see, it's all gold here. And there is an ink window right there. It's not a striped ink window. You can't really see it just because it's full of ink. And if it's gray-blue, plus all of those indications or parameters make it such that this is a 1970s, 80s pen. So you can call it a vintage, I think. It's, we're talking about 40 years ago. The pen is in excellent, excellent condition. I got to tell you, there you can see some scuffs, but it makes it, as you can see, it's been used, but nothing, no dents, nothing major. I've tested the piston. The pen filled perfectly nicely. So there you have it, the Montblanc 146. I finally have a Montblanc. I did not have one in my collection because I thought that I had another one, which was a solitaire. Let me just show it to you, that I thought would do the trick. So it was never a priority, which is this one here. But I always suspected that just the precious resin one was, thinner than this, and it is. I mean, this is a beautiful pen, but it's much thicker just because of all that, that extra coating it has. So it may be the same length, but it is girdier. So I'm glad I got the 146. I always thought, I got one already. I don't need another one. But you know what? I saw it $150. So it's now part of my collection. So that is really, really nice. The 146, it's got a really nice medium nib. Works very well, as I've tested already, as we shall see in the writing sample that will be coming up. And I'm not sure I'm going to do a writing sample yet. Stay tuned, just because I may want to do a separate video on this pen. Got some ideas. Maybe compare it to the 149. Take out some clones and fakes of this pen. Go through it all. But we shall see. I might just be tempted to show you at least a little bit of a writing sample. We shall see. So there you have it. I think that's my pen haul for this week. Actually, we should remove that one from the picture. Very nice addition to my collection. All three, they're all welcomed. So there you have it. Stay tuned for my next segment. Actually, next segment we'll try to put these things to paper and just to see how they perform. We'll be right back. Okay, let's do some writing with those writing instruments. First of all, the Blackwing. As I mentioned, I wanted to write with this pen on a Blackwing binder notebook. This is a Blackwing notebook that I think is made mostly for pencils, because Blackwing is known for their pencils. I believe this is the first pen that they do. I could be wrong on that. You'll correct me. So I've been using this with pencils, but let's see how it writes on this paper. Will you? Okay, so Blackwing. Let's close up. There we go. Now I have not. Let me just scribble to get it going. Wow. What's going on here? Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is the Blackwing pen. I can tell you that it has a feeling of a gel refill. I'll tell you, it's a little slippery on my fingers anyway, and I'm having second thoughts about how I should be holding this pen. But so it's a roller ball. Yeah, I don't know how to hold this ball, this pen. If I hold it here, there's something kind of my thumb doesn't feel comfortable there. Oh, I'm having a hard time this morning. If I hold it on the round, it kind of too big for me, and then it kind of slips. Let me see this other way. Okay, this might be the best way. Yeah, with my lead finger on the flat side is probably the best way for me to write with this pen. I got to tell you, it's a little confusing. I wish they would have had 2 flat sides or just gotten rid of it completely. But if you remove that flat side, it becomes a fairly thick pencil or pen, and it is a little bit slippery. But like all slippery, I find that all slippery pens, special metal pens or aluminum pens, once you get a hold of it and once your fingers kind of get used to it and start to heat up and kind of stick to the pen, you're off to the races. So it's not the end of the world. And the Schmidt, you see, even with the flat side on this side, I'm getting used to it eventually. But it does take a little bit of getting used to. Yeah, the Schmidt rollerballs are just fabulous. Okay, we'll put away the Blackwing notebook. Let's bring back the KEMPEN and let's do some writing on this one. Okay, so we'll get closer here. We'll start with this Blackwing. Okay, so this is the, yeah, very nice. You know, folks, there's nothing like fountain pens. You know, you can't compare even the rollerball. So, but it writes fairly nicely. So that's the Blackwing. You know what? It's a little messy. It's not a great writing experience. I'm having difficulty trying to get this pen to stay in my fingers. It's slippery and it's thick, and wow, not the greatest. Too bad, because the pen itself is really sharp, and you know, it's just very subjective. So, but it is what it is. That's the Blackwing rollerball. Next, I suspect that this one would be a lot more comfortable. Let me just remove the protection for the tipping. And let's see what this gives. This is the Uniball Zento Signature. I think they call it is it the Stone Edge? 1 second here. Signature model. They don't quite give me stone brass. Folks, I don't think this is 7. I think this is 0.7. I think this is a 0.5. Yes, it is, which is too bad. But I have refills that are compatible with this pen, and I'm going to turn it into a 0.7 for sure, just like this one. I mean, I can show you the difference, and that's just a question of taste. This is the Uniball. Yeah, so much better. Zento Signature. And this is the silver. What a difference. It's not scratchy. It runs really nicely. And compared to the Blackwing, I got to tell you, really like these two. These are my favorite rollerballs, at least for that price. There are rollerballs that are in my collection that are from, you know, more expensive fountain pen brands, if you will, like Delta and even Pelican. But so far, so good. By the way, this notebook, so far, very nice. It's kind of like Rhodia or even Clairefontaine in terms of how slippery it is, but we shall see how the fountain pen reacts. Now, let's take my, just going to sneak peek, give you a sneak peek with my new vintage Montblanc, just to show you how this, wow, that is really nice. So this is black gold Montblanc 146. It's got a medium nib, and it's a vintage 1970s, 80s. And by the way, the ink in there is the Homer Greek blue. You can tell it's a very dry ink, not very expressive, but nice. And just to give you an idea of what the red horse red looks like, I have an imitation of the Montblanc, which is this Majon P136. It's got a stub nib. I just inked it. So this is the Majon P136 in burgundy. This is a 1.1 stub. The ink is Montblanc I'm just going to call it Red Horse Red. Here too, I would say to you that the ink is not as expressive as I would like it to be. It's actually appearing much better on the camera than it is in real life for once. I just find it very dull. Maybe it's just the nib. So that's Majon P136, and I'm just going to compare it to my... Then I have another one here that I've inked. This is a Montblanc Fake 146 with red rose gold trimmings and a rose gold nib, but it's not the real thing. So this is a Montblanc. Actually, let me get my mat here because there's quite a distance from the floor to the... Okay, here we go. Yeah, you can see it's not the paper, because with this ink, and this is a 146, and I'm going to call it the Fake because they actually have the glacier and they actually put Montblanc on it, so it's not even pretending to be an imitation. I would say that this nib is probably writes like a broad. So the ink is Montblanc Irish Green. And that's my final signature here. Yeah, and I think I'm going to do a video on all the pens that I have in my collection that are either been inspired or have just directly copied the Montblanc 146. So there you have it. That's the writing experience with this notebook, by the way. Let's just look on the other side. Well, let me just turn it. Very little there's no feathering, just a little bit on that Irish green. There's a bit of ghosting, but the rest reacts very nicely. It's a very smooth paper. I thought perhaps it was preventing both the Greek blue and the Red Horse Red from being expressive, but I think it's a question more of the two inks being very, very dry. In fact, why don't I Let me try the inks. This is the Krenna. This is the new Krenna notebook that I got, and what I noticed is that on this paper, the inks are very expressive. They come down really come down wet and juicy. So, well, I'm curious about the red horse. I don't want to be disappointed with this red as well. Let me just see how it translates here. No, okay, I'm getting a much thicker line here. Montreal, that's not what I meant to say. I meant to say Mont Blanc. Sorry about that. Montreal is my city. Yeah, I think the ink is coming down a lot thicker here. And this Krenna notebook is a real front runner for ultimate replacement. Works really well, and you can see that the red is very expressive, very intense. And I would say medium wet, not a gusher, but, and don't forget, this is a 1.1 stub. So it gives me a little more color than the KEMPEN notebook. To be expected, because this is, after all, a very thin paper that's trying to imitate Tomoe River, and Tomoe River is known for just generating a thicker line. Okay, you write with this on a Rhodia, and it'll be just as nice or thin as you'll find it on that DeKempen notebook. Let's try. This is the Montblanc fake with the Irish green, and you could see it's a gusher. Okay, and let's take a look at the actual real thing. This is the Montblanc .146, the real thing, and it's got that Homer Greek blue. Again, it's not a overly expressive ink, but a lot wetter on this paper than it is on the DeKempen. But some people might appreciate this very fine line that it generates on this paper. And it's not exaggerated. It's really precise. Not everybody likes the gushing ink or wet styled. In fact, not everybody likes Tomoe River. So that's pretty subjective. So far, I think that notebook is working out really nicely. Oh, I just wanted to try out this pen that I'm having some regret buying. Blackwing rollerball pen. I mean, it's a little more fun on this paper, but again, you see it just slips right out of my hands. It just, I don't think I'll ever get used to this pen. Which is really too bad. Just goes to show you. Looks so tempting and so sharp, but then in my hands anyway, you know what? It's very subjective. So, anyway, that's my pen haul for this week, folks. Why don't we set up for the next segment, and I will be right back. Okay, so for my next segment, we're going to deal with pens revisited. I did want to revisit this Kenwright Emperor, which I think is a very nice pen. When you take a look at this pen, it's really nice. It's metal. I like the clip. I like the whole design. I like the fact that the Emperor is in kind of a gold yellow. And one of the problems I had with this pen is that when it's a snap-on, and when you unsnap it, my section here was pulled out because it wasn't glued properly. And those are the types of little things that Kenwright sometimes is guilty of. Just small, quality control issues. And I had a problem originally because it has this kind of captured converter in there. And I thought that this was a permanent fixture. I tried to remove it and I couldn't. And then one of the viewers said, no, all you have to do is unscrew it. And lo and behold, I unscrewed it and it removed. And when I removed that, that allowed me to glue back in the section. And now, you know what? I've solved the problem. And this pen suddenly becomes much more usable than it was before. I cannot post it, but the pen is a nice pen. So let's do some writing with it while we're at it. It is a little slippery. So this is Pens Revisited. And we are the 26th, 04, 2026. And this is the Can Write. Yeah, the pen slips in my hands. Sorry about that. Can Write Emperor. I understand it's also available maybe in kind of a wood or maybe even acrylic. I've got to look into it. Very nice. I mean, look, Can Write nibs are excellent. And here too, it just gets a little bit of getting used to when you're holding on. And again, it could just be the problems I have with my hands that is causing that. But I'm glad I was able to find a solution, and I'm glad that a viewer suggested it. So there you have it. Next, I want to go back and test this Conklin 1898. You know, I've been very critical of these Conklin pens, this one and both the All-American and this 1898 version of the All-American, because they have a dry nib issue. But lately, I've had some success with them, and I think we're in our third week. I haven't inked this now an entire week. I did last week just to test it, and I haven't used it very much, so let's just see what gives. Wow. Man, am I pleased. Conklin 1898. I guess this is kind of a blue. I'm going to call it Blue Galaxy just for my own purposes, but it must have another name. But folks, there's no dry nib issue here. So maybe that viewer or those viewers will tell me, I don't have a problem with my Conklin. It may have been a question of the ink. There you have it. And I did wash out the pen properly. And so far, folks, 3 weeks. Stay tuned. I'm going to perhaps revisit this a little while longer. And I mean, if it lasts a month, then we're in business. Now, what else have I got for you for revisiting? Well, you'll recall last week that I mentioned to you that I was, let me just have a sip of my cappuccino. Sorry about that. That I had ordered 4 additional Flex Majon nibs. And let's put the Conklin aside. The Emperor's been, and here they are. These are the pens that I switched and replaced the nibs in with Majon Flex nibs, that new one. So we're going to review one at a time and I give you my comments. I think I already mentioned the fact that I love this pen. This is the Majon T5. I think this pen is an absolutely gorgeous pen. It's got this beautiful burgundy resin, very well made, a nice design. Does it look like other designs? Perhaps, but you have a different clip. It's got a nice center band, very well made, good weight. It is a piston filler with a beautiful ink window. It also posts if you so wish. I don't like to post it. Very nice, comfortable pen. So this, and I put in one of the Majon Flex nibs. As you can see, it's nice and tight fit. Fits very nicely with that feed. Let's see if it writes. Yes, it does. Majon T5 with the Majon Flex Fine. Very, very nice, folks. Got to tell you, wet, no problems here. And then if you want to push it, whoop, got to be slow, not too much. There we go. Works really nice. So T5, I think this is going to be a permanent fixture, and I'm going to put it into my pen case for my flex nibs. Then, of course, you have the original solution that I had, which was to put a flex nib into this CanWrite pen with a CanWrite ebonite feed. You'll see that this particular nib, I've replaced the gold flex with this silver flex just to see if there's a difference between the flexing between one color, between the gold color and the silver color. There shouldn't be. I can tell you, folks, that this is a lot flexier. Wow. And I have the same observation. Let me just, with my fountain pen Revolution Ultra Flex nibs, the ones that are kind of gold colored have a slightly less flex than the silver. Is it got something to do with that, that covering, the cold covering they put on it? Perhaps. I put Majon T5, but it's not. This is the CanWrite Heritage. It's a lot softer and bouncier than the other gold version I just showed you. Very nice. Is it because of the ebonite feed? Well, I don't think the ebonite feed has got anything to do with the bounce of the nib itself, just the flow. I do recognize that those Majon nibs, and we can take a look at the next one, which I put into my C4, Majon C4, are the nibs themselves are much thinner, not much, but they are definitely thinner than normal number 6 Moonman Majon nibs. Just the thickness of the nib is much thinner. The shoulders are different, etc. And I got a feeling that these pens, you got to be careful. You might spring them, but if you push them too much. But I got a feeling the more you use them, the springier they'll get, which is probably the case with most flex nibs, I would think. I may be wrong on that. Unless they are vintage, which, they spring right back. And I guess that's the real test, isn't it? If you've got that really vintagey, springy flex nib, which you flex down and it springs right back to give you a thinner line. Those are the ideal ones, I think. This is the Majon C4. It's got a blue demonstrator. But I can tell you it's, thinner line than the top one. You see there's a thinner downstroke here. But again, I like this pen just because it has good reservoir of ink there. It's a piston filler. Is it a piston filler or I'm not sure if it's a piston filler or one of those Japanese eyedroppers where like the Opus 88. I forget now, but whatever it is, it does have a shut-off valve, but it's working out really nice, as you could see. It flex nib works out really nice. So that's another one of my choice. I went back and also replaced the nib on. This was my original pen that I used to test that flex nib, and I really liked the way it wrote, so I went back to it. So this is the, well, first of all, I'm going to just, Pens Revisited for the 26th of April, 2026. And this is the Majon C5. And thinner than that silver one, but still very nice. In fact, this one's a little springier because this is the original one that I used and that I've been experimenting with. So at one point it had even the tines had been a little bit displaced just because I did all the experimenting. I kept removing and putting it back in, removing them and putting them back in. And oh, by the way, I wanted to show you a tool. I don't know if it's ideal for everyone, but this tool here with the kind of a rubber tips, it's a little plier I've been using to pull out my nibs. It may not be the ideal way of doing it, probably not the recommended way of doing it. You're better off doing it this way with a rubber band or something, but sometimes it just doesn't come out, and I found that this was very useful, but you got to be careful because you might, just screw up the nib. But it may be a tool for cheaper type of, nibs that you have difficulty removing. They sell that on AliExpress expressly for that purpose. But, warning, don't ruin your nibs with that thing. But I did want to mention that it may be a tool that you might be interested in. Okay, so that's the C5. And again, this has got kind of a push button filler system. I think that it's similar to what perhaps one of my Pilot, I think, filling systems. Very nice. Pen is gorgeous. One of my favorite pens. And by the way, people who complain about these two little, I'll mention it again, what is this small clips, doesn't serve a purpose. This is actually the brand logo of Moonman. That's why it's there. So it's probably just to reflect the branding rather than actually serve as a clip. It does serve as a nice roll stopper though. Then I decided to take one of my M800s, Moonman M800s, and fill in, and as you can see, fits really nicely. So this is I call it Moonman because it did come under Moonman originally. M800, and it's the Amber as a Cat look-alike resin, if you will, and very nice. Fits very nicely. This is a converter as opposed to having a big filling system, and sometimes people would argue that the flow is just not the same, but so far so good. It's been working out really, really well for me, this pen, and it's going to be a permanent fixture in my FlexNib box. So there you have it, Moonman 400. Last but not least, and this is where I had a kind of a wild awakening, and I had completely forgotten until a viewer mentioned this pen to me, and I forget the number. I think it's N6. Yeah, viewer said, I love my N6 Ongdian because I did publish the my favorite Ongdian video this week, and one of them mentioned that they felt that the N6 should have a place in one of my best lists, and mentioned that I loved the ebonite feed in that pen. And I said, ebonite feed? I did not remember Ongdian having any pens with the ebonite feed. So I went inside my box and pulled it out, and to my great surprise, there's an ebonite feed on this pen, which really surprised me. And I said to myself, where did that come from? And I checked to see if any other of my pens had an ebonite feed and couldn't find any. So there you have it. Now it fits really nicely, that flex nib in there. There's a little bit, you see that at the top? Just a little bit of spacing there. So it's not perfect, but on the other hand, it's an ebonite feed. So thank you to that viewer, you know who you are. So this is the, oh, well, there you go. It's not working. Is it because of that spacing? Yeah, I filled it. Let me just prime it. And that spacing could be the problem. So it may not be as ideal as I thought. We'll revisit. And maybe I need to just push that nib in a little more. Yeah, let me just try. Maybe it's not tucked in properly. Let me just pushing it in. No, it doesn't push any further. There's a spacing there. You see it right there? And that's probably the problem. Let's see. Which is too bad. Because I got to tell you, with this feed, may not give me the thickest line variation, but it's the wettest. Now there again, it could be the ink, but it's giving me a lot more flow than all the other pens. Maybe equivalent to my Canwright Heritage. So whoop, I'm railroading it now. Oh no, but you see now it's running out of ink. So yeah, it's too bad. The fact that that nib is not tightly, it misplaced. Hold on, now it's a little crooked here. Let me just see if I could. And maybe I need to push it in a bit. That's just too bad. Yeah, I need to prime it. Let me just prime it. And now I just turned, everything is turned, so I'm going to have to revisit this combination, which is really too bad because I found it to be ideal. And the writing, when it works, is really nice. But it's not working out for me. So, sorry, folks. I'm not sure if you guys have better success. Let me know. Did you try this combination? Have you had more success? I'm going to try to play with it off lines and maybe revisit next week. I'm going to remove that ebonite feed and kind of just push it in differently. I would love to see this flex nib work on this pen. I think it's a really nice combination. Let me just prime it again. I'm going to push some ink down. There we go. Just because the nib writes really nicely, and the color of the pen, and yeah, not ideal, folks. You see the spacing right there, and the nib kind of doesn't fit in nicely. It always seems to be a little bit crooked, if you can see that. It doesn't sit there nicely. So I have to do something about it, but we'll revisit. We'll see if I'm able to find a solution for it. There you go. So those are my pens revisited, folks, for this week. If you enjoyed that, let me just put this aside and put this in view. Just some fun pens, folks. Some fun pens, and just revisiting that Majon Flex Nib, which I think is going to be a great success. Can you imagine if they come out with a number 8 sized Flex? Wow. That would be a real winner. Anyway, pens revisited. Stay tuned for the next segment. Okay, so we're back, and we're back for what are my weapons for next week? And again, what is the theme for this week? You got to kind of think about these things. Not always easy. Thank goodness I have quite a collection, so I've got some variety. But eventually we're going to have to kind of rotate and repeat. It's not going to last forever, but so far so good. I've been able to kind of show you pens that you haven't seen before. And when I was playing around with those flex nibs, I got to think about other flex nib pens that I have in my collection. with a series with more than one. And it dawned on me that I have I have quite a few Noodler's pens that some of them do have a, supposedly a flex nib or a flexi nib, especially the triple thine. I forget what they call it, but you'll see it in a minute. So there you have it. Weapons for next week. Going to be my Noodler's pens. Now, ideally, it would have been to combine my Noodler's pens with my Noodler inks. But you know what? We'll do that maybe some other, and it doesn't prevent me next week from showing you my Noodler's ink collection. Some of them are really messy, so I got to pick and choose, make sure I choose the right ones. But so let's take a look at my Noodler's pens, will you? And I'll cut to my overhead camera. We'll do them one at a time. Again, I'm using this Krenna paper. I'm falling in love with it. Now, this is the first one. Yes, I'm back because I had forgotten the names of these pens. And one thing I'm having a difficulty is I have a couple of pens that I've identified in my collection as AHAB, A-H-A-B, AHAB Flex, but they're quite different. And I just can't identify this one. It may be an older version of the AHAB because this appears to be the modern version of it, which is frankly a nicer pen, bulkier, bigger. But so we'll go with AHAB, but maybe one of the viewers will be able to tell me. I don't know. I've seen other models that have since come out, but they don't quite resemble this one. And then even within the same colors, they look different because this one looks alike, but then when I pull it out, do you see the silver ring on the nib section? And this one doesn't have silver. So this one kind of mimics the Conrad. It may be a smaller version of the Conrad, but I'll show you the Conrad later on, and it's much longer. So anyway, we'll call it the HAB for now, or the HAB. So these are, and the nibs have a slit that goes from top to bottom. There's no eye, if you will, in the nib itself. They're supposed to be flexy, but I find these fairly stiff. So this is weapons for next week. And we're dealing with the 26th, 04/2026. Now there is a little flex to them. Let me just kind of close up here so you can appreciate it a little better. So again, we'll call it the HAB, but I might be wrong. From the Noodlers. Okay, and this is kind of a gray or gray-black swirl. So it does have kind of a flex to it. It's soft. I can definitely get some line variation because of it. But I guess you have to know what you're doing. But the nibs, like Canwright nibs, and I've heard that maybe Canwright makes these nibs, very similar. Now, you've got to tolerate the smell on these pens. I don't find it's a major issue, and as many viewers pointed out with my Canwright collection, that smell kind of disappears over the years, and I noticed already that it's kind of gone, it's no longer there, or very little anyway. And it's okay, it's because of the vegetable resin or something to do with the formula for the resin. It's nothing disastrous. I really don't mind. Again, this is AHAB. There's no mention as to whether I'm dealing with a fine or a medium. What's nice that they all have this beautiful ebonite feed. Sometimes I find these Noodler pens have a tendency to leak. That is one of the reasons why I didn't try a Majon Flex on this. Swirl green we'll put
on these pens, because I've had in the past issues with leakage, over time. They kind of leak, and sometimes you have to heat set that ebonite, and that's a real pain. But so far so good. I think these are about a week. I don't see any major signs of leakage. So, whoop, I railroaded that one. They're fun to write with. So I call it the red swirl. Very nice. Not expensive. That's another reason why these pens can be part of your collection, is that you're going to have a lot of fun with them, especially if you change the nibs, and they have all kinds of nib possibilities. This is the Conrad. You can see it a little bit different, slimmer and lengthier, just a little bit longer. I think this is the Coral C. So this is the, whoop. But the nib on this one is much stiffer for some reason. So this is Noodler's Conrad. This may not be what they call a flex nib. Looks the same, but it's just much, much stiffer. And Coral C is the resin. Yeah, this nib has no bounce whatsoever, so there you have it. Then I have two of the same, and these are, and I can never get that name right, Neopacet, hold on. Neponset. I have it in this yellow swirl. Two the same. And this has the triple tail. They both have triple tail. The triple tail, you can see that? In other words, there are two slits and divides the nib into three, so triple tail, and this flexes. So this is the Noodler's. Got to be careful, the railroads on you. Nippon set. The flow is not great for some reason. Oh, here we go. The tines appear to be just a little bit off, and the flow is being affected. You can see it's kind of giving me a double line there. But you can see what I mean in terms of, but it's railroading. But it is springy. Let me just try the other one. This one's got a problem. Don't know what it is, and now it's railroading on me. So that wasn't a great success. Hopefully this other one doesn't give me the same problem. Could be the ink too. So this is another, yeah, this is much better. Oh yeah, because that's what I remember it being. Remember it being a real gusher of a nib. Okay, it's got the triple tail. Nib. Yeah, see how the gusher it is? I got a feeling something's wrong with that other nib. I've got to look at it, but been a while since I haven't written with these. Wow, don't tell me you haven't seen a thing here. I'll redo that. Noodler's. Nippon set. See how wet it is? Very wet. Triple tail. I'll stop there. It's a gusher, real gusher of, in terms of ink. much more than this other one. I got a feeling that this other one, something's wrong with the nib. I can see that the tines are not even it's not set properly. That's a little better. Let me see if it makes a difference. No, something's wrong with the nib. Just not working out. So it may even, did I fill it? Yes, I did. I remember filling it. Yeah, it's filled. So, and it's got this funny looking converter, by the way, where you just push it in and out and it pulls the ink. Let me just push out a bit into my water. Okay. I've made a mess, as you can see, but that's okay. Let me just see if it was just the ink that wasn't flowing properly. But I think I got a feeling it's a little more than that. Yeah, well, okay, it's writing now. But why wasn't the ink flowing before? I'm not sure. I can just feel the nib not being perfect. It's kind of spitting the ink out. Not ideal, but that's the nature of these beasts, these noodler pens. They're not perfect. They have quality issues, but they're cheap and they're fun to play with. Sometimes they leak on you, but again, those ebonite feeds are good, and worst comes to worst, you remove the ebonite feeds and you can use them in other pens. But I'd love to experiment with these pens. So they're going to be my weapons for this week. Now, how much of them will still write during a week? Well, you know what? If they don't write, we just have to replace them. We got plenty. But those are the Noodler's weapons for this week. And it's just, never spoke about Noodler's pens on this channel. I don't think for a while anyway. So there you have it. My very modest collection of 3 to 4 models. Stay tuned for the next segment. Be right back. Okay, so we're back for the final segment of the recap, which is YouTube review. First of all, other YouTubers, whereas as usual, I'd like to, choose 3. And the 3 that I've chosen, one is a brand new channel that I became familiar with, which is the Honest Nib. And I caught one of his videos on Tomoe River paper. Now, if you'd like to understand a little bit more why I am so passionate about this paper, I really recommend this video. He goes through it all, I think, and he says it all. And it really explains in just a few minutes how I feel about Tomoe River. So welcome contributor, the Honest Nib. Shout out to him. Secondly, Goulet Pens has a great review of the new Sailor steel nibs that I've been wondering about to see whether or not they can even compete with those gold nibs. I mean, right now Sailor pens are just completely ridiculously priced. In my opinion, they've priced themselves out of the market. It's ridiculous. There's really, I understand the price of gold has gone up, but there's no justification for it. It's just gouging in my estimation. So I've been wondering whether or not the alternative, these steel nibs, are something to consider, given the cost of the gold nibs. And Goulet Pens goes through the whole gamut. So if you're interested in that, it's recommended. I also like Hemingway Jones's video on the Blue Do Flex nib. So take a look at that as well. He does a great job. He goes through, as usual, goes through some of the history, goes through the pen. Very, 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 very excellent video. Now, in terms of my own channel, well, I had the top 5 Andean pens last week. Hope you enjoyed that. If you haven't caught it, please take a look at it. It's interesting, kind of opinions evolve. The viewers shared their own favorite, and it looks like it might be a series that I might just, develop and throw in once in a while, a top 5 of something. So stay tuned for that. But I think the main highlight for me anyway on my channel is the fact that I've reached finally my 10,000 subscribers. So I know I thanked you all last week because I was almost certain to achieve it. I was in the last 20 or whatever it was. But again, I want to reiterate my deepest and sincerest thank you to all. I'm glad you're on this journey. Like I said, it's therapy for all of us. Let's enjoy the few minutes that we have of leisure time. Let's not neglect our families. You can't neglect work. It's always there. But if you can find a few minutes to do something else, like this hobby, I think it's healthy for all of us. So thank you very, very much for that. Now, what's up for the channel next week? Well, I think there's a couple of videos that I've that are on the block, so to speak. There is a new video that I've added as well. So, you have it on the screen. You see the choices there. And, we'll take it one by one. We'll see what gives, see what comes in. And, the ebonite collection may be one of them. I like that inlaid nib video as well. And I've just added the pelican collection nib. So, to go along with the rest. And, depending on what comes in, if there's anything that, that enlightens me, I may very well push everything back. I'd like to also develop the 146 that I received. I know that I can do something with that one, the MONTBLANC 146, and I'm thinking about it, so that could be a next video. And I've got these top 5 that are being developed as we go along as well. So, stay tuned for that. If you haven't joined yet to this channel, please do. So like, subscribe, alert, but most importantly, all the viewers, the loyal viewers to the recap, comment. Love your comments. They inspire me. They give me ideas. And I always try to answer all of them. If I miss any, please forgive me. But there we are. 10,000 subscribers, guys. Thank you very, very much. Have a great week. Enjoy your pens, your inks, and your notebooks. And if you play golf and you live in the Montreal area, I think next weekend is the start of it all. So, ciao.